Welcome everyone, I am the Restior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 16. This is my second attempt to record this. So I did this match at the earliest time slot on Sunday. First of all, I was going to do a match on Sunday because I was going to get exactly enough shards to get Nemiya to 6 stars, so we're good on that front now. And then I tried to record it that late after the match, and it didn't go so well, so I'm trying again. Anyway, some changes to the box. As mentioned already, Nemiya is 6 stars. I did go ahead and replace Connie with Auden Kelmo. Auden Kelmo is mythical, which will go well with Isolde. Also, I didn't really realize that I had our exclusive, which our exclusive equipment pretty much ensures that anyone that takes the teleporter will get an automatic buff on it. Which means it goes pretty well with everyone else as far as anyone that can act again or on herself. So the portals will hopefully give me a little bit more flexibility as far as getting assassinations in. That being said, I did have a match prior to this one and it didn't go particularly well. I banned Aboro first and then let them have Andriel. I have a better understanding of how Andriel works. Needless to say, he's a pain. He's just not. I don't like fighting him. I hate all the matches I've seen on the Chinese servers that involve him because it's just the same thing over and over again, where you just bypass guard and then kill everything. I do know how the bypass guard works, which is good, but I know how his self-res works now, but still, it's just not great. I think the best way to deal with him, obviously if you can get him in a situation where he doesn't have his self-res, that's great. I don't know if he has a self-res after his partner dies. If so, I think killing his partner early and then just trying to finish him off before he does too much damage is probably your best bet. Or you bring your own Andriel and just play through the meta. In any case, as for the box we're up against, it's kind of interesting. We got Toa here, we got this is Precia, I think it is. I've never seen her in battle. And then it's just a few faces we haven't seen in a while. We haven't seen Elma. We've seen Florentia every once in a while. We got Ironblood Commander. We got Karika, we got Lena, and then Agnes here. It's 4 tanks, 3 primary healers, and then there's a lot of passive healing here and there with Agnes and Ironblood Commander and things like that. So yeah, I went ahead and just banned their the Awakened one. Honestly, this box is pretty mixed up, and there's a few things that are dangerous, obviously like Karika and stuff, but I also just did not want to deal with any swapping or any teleporting nonsense from the Awakened one, so I went ahead and just opened with her. They opened with Kaguya, of all things, or Kagura, I don't remember which KA name it is, and opens with Agnes. This is a little annoying for my box, because obviously assassins generally don't like dealing with self-reses. But in the case of Agnes, it's not the end of the world. The self-res she provides is very minimal, and it cripples the target until she gets her 3C off. She is super long range, though, and can do cooldown reduction and passive healing, so she is still dangerous. Got rid of Karika, got rid of Ironblood Commander. Mainly the goal is just try to get rid of any extra mobility while also taking out all the physical damage, because as you know, I'm going to pick Christiane first. So if I can take out their physical damage and just endure their magic, I'm usually in a good shape. They took out Rosenseal and Liana, so I have to pick a healer. They pick Lena, so they're already going straight into this nonsense. Went and took care of Precia and Toa. Toa can potentially guard bypass, and I wasn't sure how well I was going to be having faction buff coverage, because if you don't have a faction buff, Toa does have a faction buff, that can lead to a potential guard bypass with her 3C. And Precia, I don't really know too much about, but I think she's physical-based, and so I just took her out because she was another physical-based character. Also, she does do a lot of cooldown shenanigans, I think. Went ahead and grabbed Lycoris. I was tempted to go Almeta, but I kind of wanted the dark buff coverage. Also, Almeta can put out terrain that can overlap Lena's terrain, which will be kind of helpful. Also, she has the ability to provide immunity as well. So, went ahead and stuck with that. Got Savaria and Nemiya got taken out, and they grab Eshian. This is already getting annoying. Eshian, of course, has high mobility, can stun, and can do act against. Went ahead, at this point, they had 4 tanks still, so I got rid of the 2 tanks that were going to be the most troublesome. Mainly just Christiane, and really it was Hilda, because Hilda can negate crits. Christiane can be kind of annoying. To be honest, she's not. In some cases, I would have maybe preferred going for Landius, but since my opponent doesn't have Rosen Seal and things like that, I was kind of okay with this. So Christiane, of course, can also reduce AoE damage using her blossoms or whatever. So took those two out and was hoping they'll pick a tank next round. I picked the Awakened one because my opponent let me have her for once. At this point, this is probably the most buff coverage I've ever had. I have Princess, Dark, and Time all together. I did lose S16 here and Almeda, which is fine. I go ahead and take Lightbringer, which is completely fine. And at this point, I was like, alright, I don't want to deal with any of your immunities or any additional terrain, so I got rid of Elma, got rid of Lycoris. And Florentia is actually not too bad. She does have an Act Again, but it requires stratagems, and she doesn't actually, with this setup, she doesn't actually have a way of gaining more stratagems, because she can't get a faction buff. So the only way she can get it is through her 3C and potentially a passive, but if she's taking the passive, that means she's not taking healing, and right now she doesn't have a primary healer. So, went ahead and grabbed Tatalia. Hopefully I'll do better with her this time and actually, know what abilities I'm clicking. Yeah, this ban pick was kind of weird. The fact that, only just now Grenshiel is being banned, of all people. Usually she's one of the first people that gets banned. They go ahead and grab Florentia, no surprise there. And I go ahead and grab Pyrotes. So I have, full coverage on all my assassins here. But there is a bit of an issue. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So, Agnes here, standard kit, Shrine Maidens with all her AoEs and her 3C. Florentia here, as mentioned, she did take a heal. So she doesn't have the passive where every time a unit dies she gets a stratagem and a troop buff. So she doesn't have that, so the only way she can gain, she'll probably start with 6 if she has her exclusive, and then after that she could get 2 more with Resounding Might. If she has Clock, she could potentially spam this for more, but that requires additional rounds and setup. So for the most part, she's just going to have one Act Again, and then after that, she's kind of done. Her healing's decent, but not the end of the world. Alright, Lightbringer here, brought Holy Guard Mages of all things. I'm not sure why. I mean, I guess I do have magic. I have a mix of magic and physical here. 3C, Discipline, and brought Strengthen, probably to buff Lina. Yeah. Right now, Lightbringer can buff everyone except for S16 and Lina. S16 can potentially buff somebody with her talent. Speaking of S16, she brought Angels, which is different, I guess. Actually brought Sword Soul, which actually makes her a bit more dangerous, but at the same time, she did get rid of her exclusive skill that lets her buff up her talent abilities. So I don't have to worry about that, at least. Because that could potentially give... Honestly, she should have probably, if she was considering relying on Lina here, swapping Sword Soul for that other ability to give her 30% instead of 20% would have probably been better. But in any case, she is dangerous. Sword Soul will, of course, get rid of a lot of my buffs and potentially get rid of my immunity that I'll get from Lycoris. And if that happens, she can potentially do her 3C here and stun my tank. And then Lina is the problem. Mainly because of this talent here called Bandit Killer. After dealing damage, she steals a buff, which is annoying. But really, the big thing here is any hero that attacks her that's Assassin, she ends up getting First Strike and stealing 2 buffs from the enemy before the battle starts. A lot of my Assassins aren't technically Assassins. They're usually snipers or whatever. But Tatalia and Pyrotes are both Assassins, which means I won't have First Strike. Also, Lina has 4 attack range just as part of her talent. Tatalia and Pyrotes have 4 range as their maximum with their 3Cs. So no matter what, I'm not going to be able to deal with... Lina's going to get First Strike. The only exception is if I attack from a forest with Pyrotes, and that's because of the Forest Night Elves. And at that point, it'll just be a same time attack. Which is still rough, because Lina, of course, does really good damage, and she has Crystal Warlocks, which will reflect all the physical damage I'll be doing. So needless to say, I have to deal with this somehow. Alright, speaking of my group, Tatalia here. Now remember, everyone, Dark Devourer is the one I want, not Evil Fissure. She, of course, has all of her exclusives, using the Faceless. Honestly, I think Tatalia's biggest issue is she doesn't have the best troop choices. I need to take a look and see if she has anything better. but whatever. Awakened 1, I did bring Black Hole. They don't really have too much healing. I mean, they have passive healing from Agnes, passive healing from Lightbringer, and then some healing with Florentia. But any debuffs I can throw out is always good, and it's also extremely long range at 5 for her. Alright, Christiane, I did bring Angels. Majority of the threats here are magic, except for Eshian, so no big deal there. The Chorus, I did bring Mass Heal, Mass Resist, just in case I need to reapply Stun Immunity. And then I have Force of Darkness to provide Dark Faction buff, which will be nice. Yeah, and it does extra damage based on turn cooldown, which it has some. Alright, and then of course Pyrotes, you know my Pyrotes at this point. Quick Step, Dark Thorn, Sly Stride, Forest Night Elves. Alright, so let's see how things go. So, every time a unit is damaged, I believe. Yeah, every time an action is taken or an allied unit takes damage, she has a 40% chance. Okay, so she's only 5 stars. 40% chance to gain Wrath. And unfortunately, she got it procced on the first round, so she gets additional mobility, and her next attack or AoE will do crits. So, needless to say, this is the big thing we're going to need to deal with. Needless to say, if you are going to be doing an Alina strat, you generally don't want to let your opponent have Christiane, since Christiane, of course, has the Magic Reduction aura. So, yeah. In any case, we're going to go ahead and get Faction Buff going, which of course will give her immunity. Strengthen here. Alright, so one thing to note is I could reach Lina right now with Natalia, but as mentioned before, I will not win the exchange. Lina will have first strike and just kill me. Alright, dash has been used, so act again and Royal Blessing. So yeah, that will make it so she has additional plus 20% damage dealt. So at this point I go ahead and throw out some Spellbounds just to kind of limit her a little bit. Alright, Time Faction Buff is active. Heal here. So the heal here is to trigger this item. That helmet will give you a buff if you get healed, I think it is, or if you're healed at full HP. It essentially gives plus 10% skill damage and increased normal attack damage, which stacks with damage dealt. So all this will stack together. Alright, Sudden Strike. So this was just I believe this is just security here. The good news is this ensures that I don't have to worry about any more Act Agains for quite a while. In any case, I did throw out Evil Awareness, and as you can see, I'm kind of moving everyone away to kind of get away from Lina's nonsense. And you can see, yeah, Lightbringer's just moving up just to ensure that Lina has guard. Alright, move down. I got a Breeze proc, nice. And here it comes. Dragon Slave. This will automatically crit. And as you can see, it does quite a bit of damage. So if this Lina was 5 stars, I would have lost the Awakened one right now. Or if there was some other buff, like a 30% buff instead of a 20, that, as you can see, Awakened one is at 1583. I don't think it's the end of the world if that had happened. Because she would have immediately respawned, and it wouldn't really change what I'd end up doing. So, still, it would have been kind of demoralizing to lose a unit immediately. Alright, so good news is Dragon Slave has been used, so that's now on cooldown. Agnes's ability is on cooldown, except for Palladius Ray, which does extra damage against mages. So right now I'm just going to try to keep the Awakened one alive. So I go ahead and send her Mass Heal on her, which will give her immunity. Alright, so now I'm going to get hit with this, which is only going to hit the Awakened one. And as you can see, nowhere near enough. And at this point I am testing Agnes. Agnes cannot use her Self-Res on herself, so, or her Resurrection ability on herself. She does have Holy and Holy, So if she does happen to have some sort of item that gives immunity to fixed damage, which there's really only a couple, usually a good giveaway is if they have a skill bonus, like if their skill is actually green in numbers instead of white. Otherwise, it has to be some other item, which one of them just increases int, and the other one I don't remember what it is. So, needless to say, if she does have immunity to fixed damage, then I probably won't be able to kill her. In any case, I do my act again move thing, which will of course throw out a bunch of debuffs, which unfortunately hit all the things except for what Tatalia needs. And yep, not immune to fixed damage. So Shrine Maidens are useless here, as is the Priest or Holy Unit 100% reduction buff. And there you go. Also, the only AoE that's available right now is from Florentia. So right now, Tatalia can't actually be targeted, because she has above 70% HP thanks to her exclusive. So Agnes has been taken care of, so no more self-reses or AoE spam. Resounding Might here, it's only going to hit one target, which is just going to get for one stratagem. One thing to note, I got a little cautious here for no reason. I'm used to stealth requiring 100% HP, but this one requires only 70% or greater. So actually, despite getting hit with the AoE, Tatalia is fine. She can't actually be targeted. But I go ahead and move forward anyway with Christiane, just in case, and kind of just go from there. Alright, Decree, reapplying attack there, of course Royal Blessing, and I'm going to go ahead and do Black Hole. So yeah, even if Awakened One had died here, she would have came back in time for me to throw out the stuff anyway. The only thing that will be different is she wouldn't have her faction buff, her stats will be lower, but really I'm just doing this just to do damage and any sort of damage, and then some debuffs. Alright, strengthen here. Goddess. Oh, she has Goddess here. Neat. Alright. Ragna Blade. No, this is actually a normal attack. Yeah, just a normal attack. And it's against angels, so... one thing to note is Lina does have access to another AoE. I can't remember. It's like Arcane something that essentially does extra damage against mages and does a 30% magic defense debuff. I think Lina probably should have went for that instead of Ragna Blade, because if you're going to do any sort of single target, you probably want something other than Crystal Warlocks, to be honest, because Crystal Warlocks are not particularly good at attacking. Yeah, they don't actually have any sort of attack buff. Alright, so at this point, I'm like, alright, well, I can bring in Pyrotes. Something to note about this map, besides the fact there's water in the middle. And just finishing off Eshian here. So one thing to note, anytime Eshian has 3 stacks of her talent stuff, at the start of the round, she will use all of those stacks to immediately get a cooldown, which is good. The bad part is, while you have no stacks, she loses her self-res. So I went and took advantage of that. The other thing I was taking advantage of is the terrain here. These 4 center water tiles are actually swamp, which means foot troops can actually walk through it without any penalties whatsoever. The water tiles that are next to the bridges are actually depths, which are essentially regular water tiles, which do hinder you. In any case, I go ahead and take out Eshian, so now I don't have to worry about any act against, or being stunned, or any physical damage at this point. And as I mentioned many times already, Christiane is good against magic. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and do Mass Resist. This is mainly just to get terrain cleared out and some heals, and some immunities, I guess. I was also purging off the mobility debuff that was on Tatalia, which was caused by the 3C that Florentia threw out. This was so I can go after Florentia next. She's not at full HP. I do have Evil Fissure, which is another assassination move. So I do move up with Christiane just to give coverage to Tatalia. I'm not concerned about the Awakened One being killed, nor am I concerned about Lycoris dying at this point. So take out Florentia. So at this point they're down to 2 units. Killing a unit will of course guarantee that Lina gets her anger buff. Actually, yeah, there it is, crit. Again, just a regular attack. Why didn't she? Yeah, she did. Yeah, that was just a regular attack. She never did Ragna Blade. Why didn't she ever do Blade? That would have at least did damage. Yeah, I don't know what my opponent's doing. I thought originally when I was looking at this, I thought she did use it because there's that passive pop up, but that was just the passive and not the actual activation. But in any case, my opponent has no way of killing me, and yeah, good times. I got to use Tatalia correctly. Took advantage of the fact she has a full range 3C that I should have been using all along. I believe her stealth thing only applies for the 3C, not for her other attack. So that's why I had to move up with Christiane. In any case, got PR test here, all that. Yeah, it was a fun fight. Not often I get to use the Awaken 1. Next week is going to be Pain, mainly because Isolde's coming out, which is going to be great for the box. More than likely, I'll be replacing Kaguya with Isolde. This will give me Mythic faction buff. Isolde has a lot of things going for her. She does have some heals. She can guard bypass. She functions very similar to Oboro, where she charges up gradually, and if you let her get to essentially full stacks of everything, she will kind of blow up everything. She will get double actions at that point, bypass guard, extra skill damage, and reduce cooldown at that point. Yeah, it's really interesting character. And it's going to be a problem because anyone that's using Isolde, I have to decide whether or not I want to deal with Isolde or if I want to deal with freaking Andriel or Oboro, because those are generally the three people that are very difficult for me to deal with. So, yeah, that's one I have to look forward to in the future. But yeah, I'm very glad that we'll at least get a faction buffer. There's only a few factions left that I don't have a female faction buffer for. Protagonist, Yillis, and Glory are the only factions I believe that I don't have anything for. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I am The Depressed Hero. This is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 16, and I'll see you guys later.